Welcome back. I showed several ways to select layers. Now let's talk about moving them. Let's start with the canvas. You've already seen me use the Move tool so far in this course. You select any layer or folder and you can drag it into any position, including outside the canvas area, although I'd advise against it. That's easy to get. This applies to several layers or folders at a time. When you have multiple active tabs, you may want to move some elements around. Say I want this top card in my blank project. Here's how you do it. You select its group from the Layers panel. You make sure you're on the Move tool. You click and drag on the canvas until you get it above your other tab. Wait a moment, and Photoshop will reveal that project. Now let go anywhere on the canvas. That's it. So this process is done by working on the canvases. I don't recommend you drag from the Layers panel as that's not ideal. And here's a neat trick. Say I want to position this business card in the middle of my blank canvas. Here's how you do that. You select and drag it, but you also hold down Shift. When you let go, you'll now see it's in the middle of your project. Going back to the initial tab, don't worry if it seems like you're messing up your positioning, this is only temporary. When you switch projects, you'll see your group is exactly where you left it. The only exception is when you let go of your mouse click as you drag it across. When you want extra precision while you relocate your layers, here's what you can do. You can use your arrow keys to nudge this card in 1 pixel increments. Right now, I'm tapping the left arrow key. Each tap means this group is moving another pixel to the left. This is great for fine-tuning purposes, but if you don't want to mash your keys all day long, add Shift to the mix. This will move it in 10 pixel increments. So 3 taps means that this will go 30 pixels to the left. 3 taps to the right, without Shift, equals 27 pixels in total. That's how you'd use these arrow keys in a real-world project. Focusing on the Layers panel, we saw we can cycle through our layers with Alt and our square bracket keys. As you can see, I'm selecting layers fast. But if we swap Alt with Control, now we're repositioning layers. Take this vignette. If I use Control and my left square bracket key, it's going to move inside this folder. If I repeat that hotkey, it will go underneath this group called Card 2. So this is a great way to reposition layers through a simple hotkey. Control and your square brackets. Most of the time you'll want to use your mouse though. Here's how this works. Let me close these folders. Okay, if I want this layer underneath this folder, I can click, hold and drag. Once I release, it's going to be positioned here. Please remember, this stacking order is supremely important. Your layers should follow a top-to-bottom approach. This is why we're taking the time to discuss this subject. If you throw them around randomly, your project may not look the same. The most obvious example is with your background layer. If you place it at the top of your Layers panel, nothing else will be visible. Each project is going to be different, so there's no definitive guide. My advice is you try to create a top-to-bottom order. Here, this would be the following: the vignette, the cards, their shadows, and finally the background. If you mess this order in any way, the result won't be the same. Now here's the tricky deal. If we open this top folder and this second one, you'll see it's sometimes tricky to reposition a layer. I'll grab my vignette and drag it down. Notice this highlight that shows up when I'm directly above any of these 2 folders. That means this layer will be placed inside that group. If you let go, you'll see it's now at the top of it. By the way, it doesn't matter if the group is collapsed or expanded, the same thing applies either way. Okay, let me go back. In previous versions of Photoshop, when you did the same thing, the layer would go to the bottom of that folder. If you want that to happen, hold Shift, click and drag. Now this vignette is the last layer inside this group. So remember, if you simply reposition it, it's going to go on top. If you hold Shift and you drag it above any folder, it will be placed at the bottom of the stack. Of course, nothing prevents you from dragging it in any position whatsoever if you have the group expanded. By manually doing so, you get complete control. Notice this horizontal line. That shows you between which 2 layers this is going to be placed. That's all fine, but let me complicate things. Say I want to reposition this vignette underneath my mask layer. You'd say it's simple, right? Just drag it down. Well, here's the thing. I'll drag it and I'll see this highlight. So far, so good. When I let go, can you tell if this is inside the group or outside it? If you want to be sure, collapse this folder. As you see, it's outside it. Let me go back and repeat the very same process. I'll look for the highlight and drop it. Let's do our test. Okay, now it's inside. I know this is tricky to get, but it all depends on how you drop it. If you move your mouse downwards, it's going to be outside it. If you move your mouse up, you'll place it inside. This is one of those few cases where you have to try it for yourself. You have this PSD attached, so see if you get the idea. And with that, we've finished this lecture. Please practice a bit because coming up next, there's an exercise where you'll have to go through loads of layers and perform various tasks quickly, and I want you to be prepared for it.